Are you curious about the Melanotan 1 or Melanotan 2? You know, the peptides that make you tan?
3, 2, 1.
If you've been following my journey using Melanotan 1 and Melanotan 2, you know that I utilized them this summer to prevent my polymorphous light eruption sun allergy from breaking out. And I'm super excited to share with you the successful experience that I've had. Here are some answers to many of the questions you guys have asked me this summer as I've been utilizing Melanotan. How did I decide between Melanotan 1 and Melanotan 2? So I started with Melanotan 2 because it spurs on more melanin than Melanotan 1. It has some drawbacks though, including nausea and if you're a male, like spontaneous erections. But Melanotan 2 does work fast because it spurs on more melanocyte stimulating hormone. Within 1 month, I had a really nice dark tan. Once my tan was dark and set thanks to Melanotan 2, I then switched the following month to Melanotan 1 to maintain. And this setup worked perfectly for me. Also, before we go any further, let's do the disclaimer. My videos are created with adult women in mind. My videos are not for children. I mark my content as 18 plus. This video is for educational purposes only. Unfortunately, it has become obvious to me that there is an attack on real information that helps real women. This gross censorship is appalling and abusive. Help me combat this attack on useful, true information by sharing this video with your friends and on your socials. How did I use Melanotan 1 and Melanotan 2? I know you all want to know about dosing, so let's rehash it. When I started with Melanotan 2, I injected 12 times. I did not inject consecutively, but more like 3 times every week.
3, 2, 1.
I did this purposefully because I wanted to inject at noon, and then I would go outside and lay out for about 30 to 60 minutes to help activate the melanocytes. Once my Melanotan 2 ran out, I switched to Melanotan 1 for the following month. During the maintenance phase, you inject 2 times a week with Melanotan 1, and this should just help you maintain the color that you've been able to develop with Melanotan 2. Over the summer, I did notice some small white dots that seem to resist tanning. And if you're fair skinned like me, do not be alarmed. This is extremely normal. In fact, it's called idiopathic guttate hypomelanosis, or IGH. And it occurs more commonly with increasing age and is found in 87% of people over the age of 40 years. The most common site of occurrence are the upper and lower extremities, but it may also be found quite frequently over the trunk or face. Fair-skinned individuals normally have a higher incidence. Okay, honestly, I feel like they look a lot worse when I'm looking in this viewfinder than they do in real life. And what I mean by that is, look what it looks like in the mirror. It's not as egregious as it looked. If you do suffer from this polymorphous light eruption, sun allergy, or some kind of other solar UV allergy, I mean, this has been a game changer for me. I'm super serious about that. I'm super glad that I looked into it. Okay, so in my opinion, the Melanotan did not give me these white spots. The white spots already existed. They're just like areas in my skin that won't produce melanin, right? The melanocyte maybe is dead or something that's just not producing. But I never noticed that lack of melanin there before because it just blended in with all of the rest of my whiteness, right? I only noticed the white spots in my skin once the melanocytes started producing a lot of melanin in the areas where they did produce and work. And then all of a sudden that looked drastically different in comparison to the little white spots that were just never going to produce melanin. And as I stop use of Melanotan, my skin will return to what it was before I utilized it to get darker. And those white spots will appear less noticeable because they're just going to blend back into my white skin. In month 3, I wasn't as consistent injecting 2 times a week with my Melanotan 1. Sometimes it was just once a week, and yes, my tan didn't stay as dark as it had been in the beginning when I loaded with MT2. However, even with a lower dose, I still felt very protected by already the base layer that I had been able to create in the beginning of the summer. And so even though we were at Lake Powell in July, and then this summer here in Northern California has been triple digits more than ever, and so we've been at the pool every day almost, and I never once got sunburned or blew up in my sun allergy rash, even with the lower dosing. Using the Melanotan peptides this summer truly gave me a wonderful experience. It has been about 10 years since I've been able to go outside and actually enjoy the sun. Just from the standpoint that even if I wasn't breaking out in the sun allergy, I just felt like I could get very hivey. I felt like my skin was just more susceptible to the sun. I felt like it never mattered how much sunscreen I put on. I was still going to get overheated, overexposed. So this was the first summer that I finally felt like super comfortable being able to go outside like I belonged, like I could be outside. Amazing, right? Plus, I didn't have to take a single steroid this summer, whereas the last 2 summers I've taken steroids to help prevent this solar allergy from breaking out. And I know you want to know more about how I reconstitute these peptides, how much I dose, and where I get them from. And for that information, please join the linked Skin and Wellness app I have here in the tags and down below in the description if you want more information on that. Unfortunately, this information these days is being really restricted, and it's unfortunate, but inside our app, it's a private community, and that's where we can discuss it more fully. Did you get nauseous using Melanotan? I know online a lot of people talk about nausea with Melanotan, more specifically with Melanotan 2 than even 1. So if you're afraid of being nauseous, maybe you should just do Melanotan 1. Melanotan 2, I never actually experienced any nauseousness with either, and I thought that was interesting because I've tried a lot of peptides and I have gotten nauseous on quite a few of them, but for some reason the Melanotan 2 I didn't notice any nausea on, and I didn't notice any nausea with it on Melanotan 1 either. Especially with Melanotan 2, I would inject midday typically and then go outside. And a lot of times if you're injecting peptides in the middle of the day, you can feel some sense of nausea, but I never did. With that in mind, if you are injecting Melanotan 2 and you're feeling nauseous with it, you should inject it at night. That way you can sleep through the onset of the nausea. Did you get melasma on your face and on your hands? A large concern with using Melanotan peptides is that it can induce darkening of melasma. And if you're a person who's spent a lot of money on treatments and trying to subdue your melasma, Melanotan peptides might not be the right choice for you. And I did develop more color in my face than I had hoped to this summer. However, that is just something that's been trending with me as I get older, so that might just be part of it anyways. But I was religious about putting on lots of sunscreen, wearing hats, protecting myself as much as possible, specifically on days when I injected and went outside too. But I mean, every day of the summer, I was like super religious about sunscreen, hats, sunglasses, doing whatever I can to make sure that my hands and my face were coated extra. And a lot of people said, oh, you won't be able to prevent it from happening, like sunscreen won't be able to stop it or whatever. But honestly, if you look at my face and my body has a lot more color on it than my face or my hands. And I mean, you can even see my arms and my hands, like the difference, right? And my face is much lighter than the rest of my body. And that has to do with the fact that I was super vigilant about protecting it because I didn't want to have massive areas of melasma that looked a lot darker. For me, it was still the right trade-off because I have the polymorphous light eruption allergy. If you have this allergy, it might be the right trade-off for you too. If you don't have this sun allergy, and you are concerned about melasma, then this probably isn't the right trade-off for you. Will you use Melanotan year-round? We're in the middle of August right now, and so the amount of sun exposure for me and that I'm going to encounter for the rest of the year is now on the decline. My boys are back in school, we're not doing as many pool days, and honestly, we're just back to the grind. And with that in mind, I actually am discontinuing using Melanotan 1 today. Okay, here's my Melanotan 1. I just did an injection of it. It's my last injection, so we're midway through August right now. So this was my last injection for the summer or for the year, because I won't do this again till basically spring of 2025. And I just did 20 units on this syringe. I injected right back here. I thought I was filming when I was doing it and I didn't, and I realized, dang it. So sorry about that, you guys. But I did just finish my Melanotan 1. I kind of milked it throughout the summer and I'm done with it, and my skin will just start to naturally fade back to whatever my fair white girl skin tone is. So with that, we're done with my Melanotan 1. Into the trash until next year. So by no longer injecting and with less sun exposure anyways, my skin will just continue to slough off, which is usually like a 40-day cycle of turnover. And my skin will become lighter because as I have less melanocyte triggering hormone being made, then I'm going to be producing less melanin, and the skin cycle is going to eventuate until I have the same white skin that I had at the beginning of April. But stay tuned, because next spring I will start this cycle again for summer 2025, getting ready to be able to go into the sun and enjoy another beautiful summer. For me, the Melanotan peptides have been a game changer. Look, I went to my dermatologist last year because this was out of control, and the only thing that they could really offer me was steroids. And I'm not opposed to doing that, but if I can do something that can actually build up my resistance to the sun, not only is that protecting me cancer-wise, but now I'm not on steroids that can have some other adverse effects. I have never had some bad experiences with steroids. I also don't believe that it's good to be on steroids for whenever you need to go outside. And the only reason I was able to figure this out for myself is because I'm willing to look online and figure out options. And honestly, playing with peptides this year has given me a huge experience of just like the world of opportunity, because you can go through and look at what peptides do and what you're ailing with with and try to figure out, well, maybe I should try that for myself. With my sun allergy, using the Melanotan peptides this summer is the perfect example of how peptides can really be super effective and life-changing. And I hope that I can continue being an advocate for myself and inspiring you guys to be advocates for yourselves. And if you've been struggling with some kind of sun allergy, then maybe this is a great option for you. But again, you should do your research, investigate, and look into the side effects and what you're willing to trade off. You know, do you want more melasma in your face? If that means that you won't break out into massive hives and rashes every summer, perhaps. For me, that was the right trade-off. And I have videos and blogs about my experiences so far linked below that you can go check out. And of course, if you join our Skin and Wellness app, then we have a large peptide group inside there where I've shared reconstituting and dosing, and where we have a huge community sharing as well and what things that they've experienced. And with that, you guys, let's keep glowing together, and I'll see you guys on the next video.